Let's bring our man James Ham in here. Hammer, what's happening, my man?
I just hope to end this show the way that your show started when you guys showed up in there into the studio.
Well, that was quite an eventful transition for sure. Kimberly was she was feeling good today. She was very anxious to see the chatty house. Very anxious to see the chatty house.
They
Um,
already hit James with a 303.
yeah,
They hit him with a 303.
yeah. Mrs. MacTan says she's freezing today. We got
I'm
It's
trying the other
305.
internet. I'm trying. I'm doing my best
we
here,
got
people.
we got a 303, we got a 307, we got a 308. No one's got you making it 10 minutes, James. My goodness. Well, there you go. Brian Cruz went with 310 and Special Ed
Come
went with
on.
324.
Come
Now,
on, little Verizon box. You can do it. Prove
Eh,
these people
James,
wrong.
James gets frustrated with this, but this is one of the
oh,
great bits
it's tremendous.
of our show. Everybody loves it, James. I mean, not James Ham, but
Yeah.
everybody loves it.
Yeah, James hates it, but my favorite is when he unfreezes without the reset and he's just shaking his head.
Mm.
Just in pure frustration, he's shaking his head. Which is what pretty much all Kings fans have been doing since last Friday. I blame most of this on you, to be honest with you. You were the one who started all of this. It was all over the social media. Internet never lies when they report on stuff pertaining to sports. And you said everyone was mad at Mike Brown, and he was probably going to be fired. I'm pretty sure I read that in the Kings beat. And then, of course, Adrian Wojnarowski had the Friday report that talks have tabled. Let's start with this question, James. Why do you think this is out there? Because now you might have and kept it to yourself, but it was not public that these two sides were negotiating. We knew it was going to happen. We knew that it was on the docket for the offseason. That much had been said, but we didn't know that active conversations were happening. Why do you think we know that they stopped?
Um, I don't know. I think probably because momentum was building one way, and like at the end of the day, we had heard, again from Amick and Slater right at the end of the season, what Mike Brown might be looking for an extension. We heard the week before, Jake Fisher, right, very specifically that, negotiations were expected to be in a range that around, what was it, 8 figures. So, the 8 figures is right around 10 million bucks a year, maybe a little more. So I think that that's part of it that, maybe someone else wanted to get out in front of what was being said out there. Uh, my point of view is always like, look, I know plenty of information that I choose not to share for a variety of reasons. And that's quite often that I know a little bit more than what I can write and a lot more than what's out there. But at the end of the day, like these negotiations have to take their own shape and their own form. And if I'm someone who's on the outside looking in at the situation, it's kind of my job to do like a zoom out, zoom in type thing where we zoom out to look at like what this looked like in the past. We zoom back in to look at what other NBA coaches are getting, whether it's Mike Budenholzer, whether it's Jason Kidd getting an extension, Jamal Mosley getting an extension, today's news, Ty Lue getting an extension, or all the extensions that came in the last year, whether it's Spoelstra or Kerr or Popovich or Monty Williams getting his big deal. All of these things are part of a larger piece that like I tried to put together in one giant format. And of that, like one line was pulled out and kind of ran with that wasn't taken in the right context, but also I think it kind of we're seeing it play out that maybe both sides don't like that information is getting out there. Maybe there's some consternation as to whether or not this is who the Kings brass want to go with for the next handful of years. Uh, what it is that Mike Brown is looking for. There are a lot of like variables in this thing. The only thing I know is that the deck keeps getting stacked against the Kings themselves. Like the landslide of support for Mike Brown is there. You want to go look on social media. This is a group that in the past has definitely liked to put things out there to see how they fare in the public eye and see how it goes. Well, that it's like overwhelmingly, like I would say 95 to 5% pro Mike Brown getting an extension. So here we are. We're in a weird place where I think the Kings want to keep some options open. And I think there's a coach that's a really good coach that wants stability and wants to know where he's going to be 2 years from now.
And that's crazy too. Like if it was, maybe the team side that got this stuff out, like where have you guys been? Like what did you think the public reaction?
Sir, you
was
have
gonna be?
misread this situation.
Do you go outside? Do you listen to D'Lo and Casey? Like, what did you think the public perception would have been? And you weren't sure, so you had to put it out there to see. Like, what are we talking about?
Well, yeah, but I mean, look, this organization is crowdsourced plenty of times. And it's one way that they've made decisions, it feels like. But at the end of the day, like, look, this is a negotiation. And I mean, I don't think it's, I'll continue to say this. I don't think it's so much about, like, we hear a golf, right? I don't think the golf is so much on the dollar amount as it is like years. And that's something that I think, like, sticks out to me. Like, either this is a path we're going down or it's not a path we're going down. And it feels like you're already really far down a path to reverse course and try something new. But as my partner on the Kings beat, Mr. Sean Cunningham, has said multiple times, if you're not going to extend him, then you might as well fire him now and figure out
I
who
agree
you
with
want to go
Sean.
forward with. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know that I agree with that, because I would rather, let this thing play out further and see if you can get a deal done. And then I would also like to see if the Kings just, look like the 2022-23 Kings coming out of the gate. Their offense is rolling, everything's going well, and you feel like there's positive momentum. That's one thing. Um, but I also don't want to see the other side of it. I like to see a season fall apart again because somebody decides in December to fire a coach. It's just, I don't know, this fan base can keep dealing with this same thing, especially with all the positive momentum right now going forward.
Yeah, you're a joke if that happens. You're an
It's,
absolute joke.
it's crazy. But I will say, I wouldn't want to just move on from him right now, because I know myself. I thought Ty Lue would be gone 9 months ago, and look what happened here. And they didn't even really have success.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So things can change. You look at the landscape of the league for both sides, for the Kings, and for Mike Brown, and you may be able to work some stuff out. So to me, he's coaching next year. That's how I would do it, whether you have a deal or not. Like, we're gonna work this thing out, and we're gonna see what happens next year. And I don't think he's quitting. So yeah, he's coaching if it's me.
Yeah, I don't think that they're like, anything that we've seen so far would indicate that Mike Brown is not going to be the coach next year. I mean, we already saw, like, Luke Laux getting promoted to his to a front of the bench assistant. We've well, at least that's not groundbreaking news, but that's happening, right? We also know that that Doug Christie is going to coach the summer league squad. These are things that the decisions head coaches make, like, as part of their summer plans. So I think everything is leaning towards that, but a contentious negotiation could have this thing go, zig one way when you're thinking it's going the other. I just would keep putting it out there. Like, my point of view is, like, stability is a really big thing in basketball. It's why, storied franchises stick with the same coach. And when you start to mess with the stability of a franchise, which we've seen so many times over the last 18 years in Sacramento, like, there's just never, like, a pathway forward. You're always starting over. And for me, that's where Like, look, you got a good thing. Like, there could come a point a couple of years down the road where it's not a good thing. But for right now, you do have a good thing, and it's something that you should be building on and you should be fostering, and you should try to breathe life into it, and not only that, but give it more, give it more fuel. And by that I mean go out and get some better players. Go out and get the pieces that you need to make this a contending team. That's on the table. This team isn't that far away, but you're also seeing like the fragility of it, like how at one point we can say that it could go, great things could happen, but also dark things could happen. And, you have to be able to look at both sides and be fair about it. Like there might be a coach out there that steps in and just figures it out and is better than Mike Brown. And I don't know that that's the case, but we can't excuse it. That might be a possibility, but we also have to look at a track record and know that like that's not the way it has gone over not just since Rick Adelman left, but since Vivek took over in 2013. There's been way too many missteps, way too many times where something was just barely missed. And if there's a tag that the Kings used, not this season, but last season. This year, what was a tag? It was it was the year before it was all in, right? This last year, it was something connected. I think that's what it was. Connected. All in is where I would go right here. Everybody has to be all in right now. You just miss the playoffs by nothing. Like you're right there. You're on the cusp. You're not a team that could take a giant leap and maybe get back into it. Like you're right there on the cusp. So are you all in or are you not? Because all in means you're all in with a coach, you're all in with a training staff, you're all in with improving the roster. Everybody has to be all in right now. And if you're not, that is a bit of a concern.
I think my concern is this is that this is public. Like this, it just doesn't feel like this needed to happen. You talked about a potential, how a contentious contract negotiation can lead to thing. You can be contentious behind the scenes. Like you can meet together and have it out and say what you got to say. That's there's nothing wrong with that. And in my mind, that's perfectly healthy. But now it feels like something else. Now it's like, hey, just want to let everybody know, here's where we're at. Here's what's going on. And it's like, no, wait a minute. Last season is only a disappointment because of what Mike Brown and this team did the year before. We're not talking about 5, 6, 7, 8 years here. We're talking about one. Mike turned it around with that group and Monty McNair in a single year. They fell short by 2 games, and no one would care had they beaten the Pelicans 1 time out of 6. But there is now an expectation of winning, and to cut the legs off of it after 3 years, potentially 3 years, is ridiculous to me. We should not be where we're at, regardless of what Mike is asking for and his people are asking for, regardless of what Sacramento was offering, James. We should not be where we are today.
No, I would agree with you. Like, and this could have been handled. This could have been handled different ways, like without any question. And like, look, I don't think that there was enough information out there that there needed to be a definitive, hey, we're stopping negotiations. Whoever put that out there, like I don't think that there was enough information out there by anyone that we needed that sort of dead stop, right? Because that's what that somebody just put a period on a tweet. Like negotiations are being shelved. Click.
And there was no context in Woj's article at all. Like his article was essentially the tweet. It was the tweet about table talks and then a rundown of Mike's career. That was the entire article. I was like, there's nothing here. What happened? Oh,
yeah.
Here we are. We also tried to, define the word. Tabled could be, hey, we talked about this. Wes Wilcox, I got to go hang out with Kenny Caraway in Reno for the kids' basketball tournament. Can we pick, Wes, what happened? Can we, pick up on this on Thursday or Friday? Can we pick up on this next week? Can we pick up on this before free agency? Whatever. that's tabling talks. Like, this doesn't mean like, all right, man, we'll see where your punk ass is at the All-Star game. And boy, if this team isn't good, you're out of here. Like, we tend to think the worst, right? We interpret when we don't have specific detail, as you were just talking about, Hammer. We kind of interpret, like we had yesterday, people adding words. The Kings refuse to negotiate. Well, wait, what? Where'd you read that? We interpret things on our own when we don't have the proper amount of information.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I'd also say that like things get blown out of proportion so quickly, especially with the world of aggregation. Like,
What would you know about that?
yeah, like I mean that's just it's part of my job is to deal with that. Like, okay. Well, like I don't know what else to say. Like if anyone out there thinks Vivek Ranadive was happy getting bounced in the play-in, then you're taking crazy pills. Like, so there is nothing earth-shattering about, ownership was not super happy about the way that the season ended, or super happy about the fact that they missed the postseason. That's not groundbreaking. It's just when you tie it in and you change the context of it and you add Kings ownership unhappy with Mike Brown. No, it's not what I said at all. And again, uh, there are a lot of people out there who actually need to just do something simple like read the article to get the message that's in there and to see if it's fair or if it's one-sided or not. Like, completely fair question, and like, look, again, if you don't think Vivek and all of the owners are upset that they got bounced from the playoffs, that they didn't get an extra, 5 games or 4 home games or 8 home games of revenue coming in the door, you're crazy. Like, that's what this is about. This is about not only making money, but also winning basketball and building something. And so,
James, in your mind, do you feel like this is how do I put it? Are they in a bad spot right now? Both the Kings with Mike Brown. Is this an unusual place to be in for contract negotiations, or is this close to the par for the course for negotiations right now?
the funny thing is, like, we've never been through this actual thing in Sacramento. Like, typically coaches just get fired on like Mother's Day or
Well,
on
The
specific
team's
days where
no
you're like,
good.
huh, great, thanks for that. 2 days
There's no
before
real
Christmas, whatever.
argument to keep them around because they haven't been good for so long.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, this thing could turn around quickly and everything could be okay. I just know that like there isn't positive movement. This isn't. I wouldn't view this as a good thing for either side, and I don't know that that a deal is going to get done. Like, everything could change tomorrow. The tenor could change tomorrow, but as of right now, like, this isn't a great situation to be in if you're either side.
how impactful all of this, James, do you think this, or how impactful is this on free agency, if at all?
Oh no, I think it can be totally impactful. Like, but players are going to want to know who they're playing for. That was the other, like, there's some main pieces to the article I wrote last week, and like one of the biggest standout pieces to me is just how infuriated Rudy Gay still is that he signed on and signed like a 3-year extension with the Sacramento Kings to play for Michael Malone, and then a month later he was fired. And then he's starting over, and he's starting over with multiple coaches. I mean, Rudy Gay from that moment on had, I think, 3 additional coaches in his 3 seasons. So, yeah, I definitely think that this is, it's one of those situations where you want stability if you're a player, and you wanna know who you're gonna be playing for, and you wanna know that, if you're a player who, let's say, on occasion gets in an argument with your coach on the sidelines, and you wanna know that that coach, no matter what, loves you and has your back, and those arguments are what they are, and you move on, and you have a quiet conversation the next day, or maybe you don't even need to, and things are okay, and you're right back to where you were. Um, that's not always the case. Like every coach is different. The way they approach players is different. Every player is different. The way they approach coaches. And so if I'm a player, I would want to know exactly what I'm getting into if I'm on the hook for a 2-year deal or 4-year deal or whatever it might be.
Yeah. I still think they're getting this done, James. I think this is we're hypersensitive right now in Sacramento. There's a sense of urgency. I talked about it earlier with D'Lo and Jesse. There's a sense of urgency all throughout the city about this team. You know, whether it's the coaching situation, whether it's what Monty McNair needs to do to improve this roster. Everybody wants to get back to where the Beam team was a year ago, and everything is intense right now. I think when the dust settles, and I don't think it'll be through the summer. I think it'll, or like after the summer. I think it'll happen in a relatively good amount of time. Um, I think they'll get this done. I'm
You know,
not
it's
I'm not worried about it yet.
I'm not like 100% freaking out that whole thing's gonna fall apart either. But I would say this, like we have this thing that was like super untested in Sacramento forever. It's that winning cures all. And it's something that like we all were like, man, if they could just string together if they could just break the curse, winning will fix everything. And I don't know about you, but I think we're learning that winning didn't fix everything. That winning just turned up the intensity of things, and all of a sudden winning can be the reason why you're doing something else. Could be the reason why you're making a mistake, because you get like so enamored with the winning that you think that there's something better out there. There's more that you can do, and there's a lot more the Kings can do, but you gotta keep your head on your shoulders and do the right things and try to build things the right way in the NBA. I think that's what we're learning. Look at the teams that are in the playoffs right now, that are or that were in the playoffs even the last series. They're teams that have kind of stuck it out, that have kept a group together, that have tried to build something. You remember how Denver gets almost all the way to the promised land and then falls apart. They didn't fire Michael Malone. They didn't take radical steps backwards. They just kept staying the course and then rebounded and got better. Look at OKC, who's just organically built this thing with Mark Dagnall, which again, just random, a guy that like not a lot of people had ever even heard of, let alone be able to spell his last name. And they're sticking with him. But look at the program that he's built. Look at how hard they play for each other, how hard they play for their coach, the mentality of the team. Look at Minnesota, how they just incrementally have started to turn the corner. They made the playoffs last year. They're jumping way ahead this year. These are things that actually matter in the NBA. And so I hope that like in the end, cooler heads prevail.
How much do you think, we don't know the number for Jason Kidd, but he recently got a contract extension. We know Ty Lue got a very, very, very healthy contract extension today. How much do you think which really it's a change in the coaching market, the coaching salary market. How much of this do you think impacts where we are with the negotiations with Mike Brown? Because we're partaking in it.
Yeah. Like look at it's
I
the
can't
cost of
imagine
doing
that Ty Lue contract today hurt.
no, it's the cost of doing business, right?
That's
Like
right.
Ty Lue's contract was huge. And it's way more than the reports of what Mike Brown is looking for. It's way more than what Mike Brown is asking for. But I kind of look at it this way, like if you want to live in a certain neighborhood, let's just say somewhere like in Rockland, right? And you want to go look at houses, but you only have a certain dollar amount budget, and the houses are all more expensive than that, then you can't go live in that neighborhood. And I just think that, for somebody who like either you can play in this pool or you can't. Like this is the it's major league sports. Like
Mhm.
coaching salaries just went up. This is a reality. The reality is the Sacramento Kings as an organization were bought 11 years ago for a valuation of $535 million, and they're now worth well over $3 billion. Like
Crazy.
Everybody is making money hand over fist in that. The players are making so much more money. When I started covering this team, the salary cap was $58 million. It's $141 million this year, and 4 years from now or 5 years from now, it's going to be $205. I mean, that's in basically the span of 20 years. That's how much the salary cap has changed. And NBA coaching salaries have been right around the again, remember Paul Westphal made like 1.75 million, lowest paid coach in the league. Some of these coaches make $3-4 million a year. All of a sudden, that's not the going rate for a coach, and it's certainly not a going rate for a coach who has a 607 career winning percentage in 9 years. That's just not.
He just doesn't have the one thing that everyone else in that category has.
And they just need to forget about that and give him what
It's
give him what he
crazy.
needs, man.
It's crazy.
Jeez, take care of him.
Also, Nick Nurse do better. We discovered Nick Nurse is probably and I don't think we're missing anyone. Nick Nurse is the lowest paid coach in the league with an NBA title.
Oh my goodness! And he got a good job.
Yeah, he's got a great job, but he's at $8 million per year. And you look at the rest of the championship coaches, including Budenholzer. I think Kidd will fall into that category. We don't know. Should he get there? I don't know what Chris Finch makes. He's not there yet. And Joe Mazzola he's probably in the Darvin Ham category of.
Poor guy.
But that'll change.
Yeah,
that'll change. He wins an NBA championship. That's going to change. We'll come back. We'll talk more about the Kings. We'll talk more about the NBA, and we'll talk more with James Ham of the Insiders here when D'Lo and KC return on Sacramento Sports Leader ESPN 1320. This is fun.
I would point out too, like to your point there, that the coaches with a chip are making X amount of dollars. Monty Williams doesn't have a chip.
Correct.
And
He's the
Jason
outlier.
Kidd doesn't have a championship as a coach. And these are the deals that teams this is what they're getting paid. Like the coaching salaries as a whole have gone up. And again, that doesn't mean that you pay I know for a fact Mike Brown isn't asking for $15 million a year. He's not asking for pop money. He's not like the ballpark figure that is out there is a very accurate ballpark figure. And
who
I
we
don't
know, just dawned on me, is Michael Malone. Mike is a championship coach, and we don't know what he made.
He did get an extension too, not that long ago.
Right,
maybe
he got an extension,
maybe 2 years ago.
Yep, 2023.
Yeah,
November 2023.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he makes
after the title. Yeah, June
Yeah.
20. Yeah, that's after the title. But doesn't say how much. Malone to be amongst highest paid coach. That's all it says. So,
yes,
yep.
fuck. Yeah.
Gotta do better, Nick.
Look, and again, I think that there is this like giant push here that people are saying, well, Vivek's cheap or something like that. I don't think that's the problem. I mean, like the negotiations are what they are. And like, I don't think that they're that far apart on dollars. I believe they're far apart is on years. And that's more of a problem in my mind. Jason Siebenthal, the range that's been reported is $10 to $12 million. That's the range per year. But like the less that you ask him to take, the longer he's going to want the contract. Like he's going to want more security. Yeah. Look, it's a complicated matter. But I think Mike is valued. Like they understand what Mike has accomplished.
Go golfing again, guys. What are we doing?
Everything looked happy then. What was that, 2 weeks ago?
Go golfing.
Everything was awesome.
Look at that list of free agents: Paul George, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook.
Oh, man.
Yeah, somehow in the ESPN rankings of the top free agents, uh, D'Anthony Melton was number 6, ahead of OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam, because they're using their very specific. Uh-oh, I got a Corey barking.
I'm coming back, James. James's dogs are having a royal rumble in the background. They've been going at it like the Bloodline and Cody Rhodes for the last couple of months. We just continued the conversation through the commercial break about Mike Brown, the Sacramento Kings, years, dollar figures, coaching salaries, all of that different stuff. We did discover, my apologies to Michael Malone, he has been left out of this discussion in terms of championship coaches. Part of that is because his salary isn't public. When Woj tweeted about his contract extension in November and the subsequent writings that came with it, it was just stated that Michael Malone will be amongst the highest paid coaches in the league. Doesn't, state whether that's top 2, top 3, top 4, top 5. But if someone says you're amongst the highest paid coaches in the league, I'm probably automatically going to think you're in the top 3 right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4. Well, I guess now 5 with the Ty Lue stuff. It's all pretty close. But Michael Malone, a name that we've left off out of this conversation because his money just isn't reported out there, which I also think is ridiculous, James. We know every penny that gets paid the players. We should know what coaches make as well. I don't know why this is such a big deal.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I don't even think we know what almost any assistant coach makes, right? We have no idea what most assistant coaches make.
So I think I can provide a little insight into that. Well, no, I can't. I'll say in conversations that I've had, I don't think you want those out there because it's not universal, and there are some coveted coaches. But no, I don't want to use anyone as an example. There are some coveted coaches who might be new, but like, hey, you have a bright future. We really believe in you. We're going to pay you this amount, which might be more than guy on the front of the bench who's been there a little bit longer, and you probably don't want that stuff out there.
Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That
Just
even on
my part, that's all.
Yeah, even on the same coaching staff, that there would be there wouldn't be a clear pecking order.
Nope.
As far as
Not financially.
what financially. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense because, you can even look at former players might make more than somebody who didn't play the game, who came from the college game or something. So I think that there could be a lot of variance there as far as and who's negotiating their deals. I think a lot of young coaches don't have agents. And then coaches that do have agents probably get more financial, they get better deals. And
I believe you're
all
on
of
the
that.
right path with that line of thinking, James.
Yeah, I think that all of that's totally understandable. Totally. So,
And with all that said, with the exception of the associate head coach, the guy right next to the head coach, they probably don't make anything close to what you might think. And it's a fraction of all of these numbers we're talking about with Mike and Ty Lue and all these other guys. It's a fraction of that. It would probably be surprising to most people to learn what assistant coaches make.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think that they're number one, there's no uniform dollar amount. But number two, low level coaches on a coaching staff, you're not talking, most of them are nowhere near 6 figures.
And in college, Hammer, sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt, James. In college, there's a budget for a coaching staff. That's not the case in the NBA, right? If Mike wants an assistant, do you know the process in that?
There's a team imposed budget, but whatever
Okay.
that is, like there is no NBA budget for assistant coaches that I've ever heard of at all. But there is like a team can say, yeah, no, we're not going to pay that, or we will pay this.
But
Like I
it's
remember,
discretion, like it's based on the team. It's the team's decision.
yeah, it's a team's decision. Like we talked about this a little bit last week with the fact that every NBA head coach has it built into their contract that they get to hire and fire their own assistant coaches. That doesn't mean they have an unlimited budget to hire whoever they want. And
Mhm.
that's I think where people get kind of confused. Like I remember a few years ago there was some murmurs that Brian Shaw was going to be the lead assistant in Sacramento on Luke Walton's staff, and that didn't happen. And it didn't happen because they didn't want to pay what his asking price was. And that's a ownership that's fine. Or a general manager who might have a budget specifically set aside for whatever. I mean, every team has to work under like some sort of financial business plan.
Mhm.
And so I don't blame people for any of this, but I would just say, like, look, if you understand that the television deal is going to triple in like 2 years, and your team is going to be so flush with money, and like all this new found money that's not just like 51% has to go to the players. Well, like look at all the other money that's going to be there. Like you're going to have tons of extra money just coming in the door without even selling a ticket. And so that's kind of the hang up that I have, because I would assume that part of the question is like, let's just say that they give Mike a 3-year contract extension. So he plays out this coming year at his current deal, and then the next 3 years he would be under contract. And then you figure out that, like, let's say maybe the Kings make the playoffs this year, but then next year they don't, right? And you're like, oh, we got to move on. It's that extra 2 years that you're going to be paying that I think might be the holdup here. It's like the unknown. If the Kings would have made the playoffs this year, I don't even think we're having this discussion. I think it would have just been, okay, Mike Brown got a contract extension. Maybe I'm
Mhm.
crazy, but I also, there has to be a certain style of play, and there's got to be some. The owner has to want whatever the coach is providing. That's got to be something that the owner and that the general manager are on the same page with, and they want to keep working with somebody. And like I haven't heard that Mike is a difficult guy to work with at all when it comes to this stuff, but at the same time, this franchise has multiple times paid one or two coaches that weren't currently employed any longer while paying another head coach at the same time. And that's not a situation that you want to get yourself in again. And so maybe that's part of this, is just being a little gun shy on extending somebody that, as of right now, you did make a playoff and you did have an 18 game increase, but the next season you took a slight step backwards, or, lateral move, 46 wins versus 48, and you're just not sure. And again, all of these things are okay, but I don't blame a coach for not wanting to walk into the final year of a deal. And I understand where the financials have gone with coaching salaries around the league.
So you talk about that with the Kings and potentially, if they're not sure and they don't want to get stuck in a situation where they fire a coach and they got to pay him for 2 extra years, whatever the case may be. One, it's not firing coaches, so
No,
so you don't have to
no,
worry about that.
good plan.
Two, um, like we talked about this a little bit earlier, myself and D'Lo. What's what's the time frame they give these coaches, right? Like, because it doesn't feel like if you have a 4-year deal that you're getting all 4 years to turn things around. Is it 2 years now? Is it three? Whatever the case may be, because we were looking at potential job openings not next year, but the following year. And some of these coaches I had potentially losing their job.
Yeah, Kenny's
It
got
was
a
like
short
it
leash,
was like
man.
two
He's like, these
years.
dudes are out of here. He fired half the league in the 12 o'clock hour.
What do you think they kind of like? What kind of time do they get to build a program, so to speak, and have success or anything like that? Is it 2, 3 years max?
Well, no, I think it totally depends on the coach, right? So, like we've seen, like the Darvin Ham situation, like you can still be winning and have things spin out of control, right? We what was it, Dave Blatt that got fired in the middle of a season when his team was like, wasn't
Boy,
he the
I'm sensing a theme here.
yeah, wasn't he the Eastern
Don't do that.
Conference?
What?
Don't do that, Damian Crick. Don't do that.
Wow, I just said I'm sensing a theme here. You brought
Yeah.
up Darvin Ham, brought up David Blatt. Well,
Leave Luke out of this too.
I
Yeah.
didn't say nothing about Luke.
Well,
I'm just saying,
he's
like
part of that- he's
there are
part of that
points
club.
though.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's not something you should want. Like switching coaches mid-year is one of the most catastrophic things you can do to a group, right? It rarely does it give you some weird boost, then everything works out. And, more often than not, it happens, everything spirals out of control and players go, okay, I guess we're on vacation early this year.
Man,
Like, okay,
David
which one of
Blatt
us
was
is getting
30 and
traded?
11.
30
David
and
Blatt
11.
was 30. He was 30 and 11.
I think he would have coached the Eastern Conference All-Star team and got fired. Just like
Never heard from him again. Too.
He had a win percentage of 732.
okay, but
That's
look at what happened with the Bucks this year. Like the Bucks
Yeah.
just went through this, right? Where
Yep.
And it didn't help anything there. Switching out coaches didn't help anything. But
Well, the
that
Cavs won the
coaching-
championship that year.
Yeah, there's that.
yeah,
And to be fair to the Bucks, I guess, didn't seem like Adrian Griffin got along with anybody.
Nah, it did not seem like he was well liked. Which, and I think in a different way, that was the story with David Blatt. Like he was having a really difficult time relating to the players.
yeah.
And I don't. Again, different, but relationships with players is really important. And I guess in the case, did Adrian make it through the first year?
No, hell
No.
no. It was like
This was his first year, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
he
Adrian
would have
Griffin had the
he would have been the Eastern Conference coach, wasn't he? Wasn't
yeah,
he
said it
at
was
the All-Star?
Doc.
Yeah, Doc sent no, Doc didn't go. Doc, if I remember correctly, Doc sent his staff, like him and Yeager and is it Rex Calamia that they brought in. Those guys stayed back, and
the
the
team
assistants
contingent?
that were there went and hung out.
And also one more thing with the Adrian Griffin, the Terry Stotts thing was really bizarre.
I was going to say the Terry Stotts thing and his firing all happened in the first half of the season.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't think they didn't get
Jesus.
through training camp, and Terry Stotts was like, "I'm done." with this."
Wow.
So
Like,
I don't
and
know. I
Terry
don't want to.
Stotts seems like I mean, I don't know. I've never played. He seems like a pretty easygoing
Yeah.
guy.
I don't want to make any, disparaging, cast any disparaging shadows on Adrian Griffin because I don't know the guy and I don't know what happened. But a lot of people weren't happy with him. It seems like.
Yeah, but I mean, again, that's the cost of doing business in the NBA. When a coach doesn't work out, and I'm assuming Adrian Griffin had a 4 or 5 year contract. He just bit the bullet. You got to pay it. It is what it is. Like that's part of doing business. And then they gave Doc a whole bunch of money. What did Doc get? Didn't Doc get 50? Like
10 million. Yeah.
Well, I
10
mean, we
million a
don't
year.
have to market watch, what I got. I'm just out here. I'm trying to do a job. I mean, you see the team that I have. I'm trying to do what I can, and we don't have to worry about how much I'm making and anything like that. That's not anything that we're really doing here. We're trying to win basketball games, and it goes down to myself. It goes down to the ball boy. It goes down to the announcers. We've all got to be better.
Yeah.
Oh, this
So
is
how many
terrific.
coaches now make over 10 million a year? Have we figured this one out?
Yeah, no, but I think I think it's safe to assume Michael Malone does. I think it's safe to assume that Jason Kidd does.
Mhm.
Because Jason Kidd, I believe, was at 9. He signed a contract extension earlier this month. We don't know the dollar figure. So I think it's safe to say those two do. We know Steve Kerr does. Greg Popovich does. Eric Spoelstra. Monty Williams. Budenholzer.
Ty Lue.
And Ty Lue. I think that's it.
So we're at least at 8 coaches We don't know what Rick Carlisle makes, which I'm going to guess
Rick Carlisle, I think, is at 7.5.
Oh, okay.
I believe Rick Carlisle is 7.5, and Nick Nurse is 8. Dummy.
And we don't know where Missoula is, right?
We don't know where Joe Missoula is. I'm going to assume Joe is on the lower end.
Yeah.
Because, well, we know why. Because, yeah.
I think he got a 3-year extension at like 13 million or something like that. So he's like 5, like a 4 or something like that. Yeah,
like a total of 13.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where is Tibbs? There's no way Thibodeau doesn't make 10 mil.
Good question. Good.
We got to pass the hat around for Joe Missoula.
Yeah, we might have to. He got the.
Well, they're still making sure Brad gets paid for his time. Ime's got to get his, I think.
Well, Brad still works there for the record.
He's doubling it up.
Like Brad still works.
Everybody getting paid more than Joe.
That's
he about to win the NBA.
I said that Joe Mazzola was a second row coach 2 years ago. They're like, look, buddy, you could be the Boston Celtics coach, and you're just going to get what we pay you.
Joe Mazzola, one thing I did notice is I know he works hard to make sure everything is taken care of and everything's ready for the game. But I mean,
so
can we get a lineup? Can we get a shake
somewhere? He's too busy watching the town during that time.
To have somebody do it while you're watching. I mean,
he's got to lock in. He's got to lock in.
I'm going to guess because Tom Thibodeau going into the final year of his deal next year. He signed this in 2020. So my guess is he does not make $10 million.
Yeah, probably 6, 7, 8.
That would be my guess. My guess is in the range of
price has gone up.
Price is
now,
absolutely
hold
going
on,
up.
hold on now. You said Thibs is going into the last year of his deal. Next year?
He just finished the 4th season of a 5-year deal. That's correct.
So we should, I mean, conventional wisdom of what we talked about here with Mike Brown.
Yeah. That was a big that was a big discussion on when the Knicks got eliminated. Yeah, absolutely. This thing with New York and Tom Thibodeau should hit a point during this offseason.
We talked about
one way or the other.
We talked about watching these other teams. I didn't even it's a good call by James. That's one to look at. Thibs is in that Mike Brown tier. Probably won just as much, not won a championship. He hasn't even got to an NBA Finals as a head coach. He was the defensive coordinator, but he might be. That might be comparable.
Thibodeau. I love that it's Budenholzer, but we call him Coach Bud, and it's Thibodeau, but we call him Tibbs. The English language is fascinating,
and it's Jokic, but we call him the Joker.
Right. Thank you.
We do what we want here.
We do.
We do what we want.
That's very true.
Tom Thibodeau, 916 NBA games, 527 wins, 389 losses, a win percentage of .575. Like Mike Brown, he has missed the playoffs, not counting the year he got fired, because I didn't do that with Mike either. He has missed the playoffs twice. Bar for bar, like Mike Brown.
Except Mike got a higher winning percentage.
Mike's got a higher winning percentage.
NBA Finals.
Yep.
I don't know if Thibs has even been to maybe one conference finals with Chicago.
He went to the conference finals his very first year as the head coach of the Chicago Bulls. His first 2 years, 756 win percentage, 758 win percentage.
Is he the Tommy Lasorda? Is he the Tommy Lasorda of the NBA? Because Tommy Lasorda was known to
won, didn't he?
But Tommy Lasorda was known to run every single one of his pitchers into the just run them to dust.
Well, you keep doing that to Tibbs, and I think that I think the New York version of Tom Thibodeau is different. I don't think that he does that anymore. But I obviously the postseason, it is what it is. Like, he only had 7 healthy bodies to begin with. He was trying to win a series.
No, I get it.
I think that was a perfectly fair representation of Tom Thibodeau from Chicago to Minnesota. I think New York Tibbs is different. Broadway Tibbs is different.
Broadway Tibbs is different.
That was a good man. That was a good name. I didn't even think of that. Yeah. Man, maybe Warren the Garrett's waiting back like or maybe he's his agent too. Who knows? I don't think there's a ton of NBA. James, you might know this better than I do. I don't feel like there's a ton of NBA coaches agents.
Well, I need to get
No,
that market.
there's only
'Cause they
two
still get
major
money.
ones.
Oh,
Right?
two.
So, yeah, there's only two major ones, and that's Warren Legary and
And that's Mike.
and yeah, well, that's Mike, but it's also
Everyone
it,
else's.
it was George Karl's Dave Yeager,
Oh,
and
Jesus.
then
Okay.
the other is Spencer Bricker, and Spencer has, well, he's got the other guys. He's got Michael Malone. He's got, I think he had Alvin Gentry. Maybe I'm wrong.
Nah, that
He's
needs to be wrong.
like
Needs
so
to be
so
wrong. I'm getting in there.
the other
You're gonna be in there.
people who might so here's the deal. There are other there are players who, some of them use their agents when they were players. So what you're seeing from like Luke
Mm.
Walton, his person was from Wasserman, who was his agent when he was a player. Same thing with, like, I believe, like Chauncey Billups. Again, they have very specific people that they use. And then the contract that we saw today with Ty Lue, I think Ty Lue's agent is the guy the person he had when he was a player.
Here's a new one. Billy Donovan. Or I'm sorry, not Billy Donovan. Quinn Snyder. I was going to look up Billy Donovan. Quinn Snyder. He's in the 8 million range.
Yeah,
That's
I
reported.
got to be higher than him.
He's in the 8 million range. Billy Donovan was one I did want to look up though.
Mike
because Kenny's trying to fire him.
Well, look, now to hell with all that. I'm going to be an agent.
There it is.
These prices going up. I'm going to be an agent.
No money for Billy.
They just
no announced money. Just
yeah, and I don't know what Dagnall makes. I don't know what Finch makes, or
I couldn't find. I was looking for Chris Finch too. I couldn't find him.
Taylor Jenkins.
And I
don't know what
can't
he
spell
makes.
Dagnall, so I can't. I can't Google
Yeah.
Dagnall.
You can just never look him up.
There's a G in there.
Yeah,
there is a G in there.
Nothing.
Yeah.
No dollar figures, just multi-year contract extension. No dollar figures.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Like, coaching salaries are skyrocketing. Oh, what did
Quinn Snyder's a good one. That Quinn Snyder's a good one because Mike. I think Mike's better than Quinn Snyder.
What did Emi Udoka get? Let's see. That's another question. That's somebody who could make money.
I got you.
He had the
let's see,
rub of being a young up and coming guy though.
Oh, Ime Udoka. He's not happy right now. 6.7.
Oh man, he had to take a pay cut after.
Yeah, he got 4 years, 28.5. Gets him about 6.75. That's what he made in this last season.
Yeah. He had to fall back after that fiasco.
He makes
and I ain't talking Lupe.
He's making a smidge bit more than Darvin did.
Oh boy. Yeah, I wouldn't know what Chauncey makes either up in Portland. I'm gonna guess he makes a good amount of money, but it's his first coaching job. Yeah.
Chauncey, there's not too much time left there.
Yeah, and
I don't think Chauncey's going to be reported, and it's not. Yeah, Chauncey's isn't out there. We did have a fun moment earlier where we speculated the market for first year coaches could change if JJ Redick is named the Los Angeles Lakers coach, because we don't think he's going to get $5 million. He's not going to get the Darvin Ham contract. We think it'll be higher, and that'll be he's going to get. If JJ Redick is in fact named the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, I think he's going to get the Monty Williams version of a first-year head coach contract.
So 8.
He's not going to get 13, but he's going to get, like, if first-year head coaches are getting like 4 or 5, he's going to wind up getting like 7 or 8.
Yeah, I'd put him around 8. And Jamal Mosley just signed an extension, right? And what did he get? Like, I think his 7.5, 8.5.
Yeah. That's about right.
Yeah, not bad.
Makes sense.
Making good
Well,
money.
I'm going to look it up. So let me see. Jamal Mosley, not announced. No money announced to Jamal either. Just 4-year extension. They just gave him the 4 years, and it'll run through the 27-28 season.
I'm feeling like, Kenny, you should either be a coach or a coaching agent. I think coaches seem to make more.
Yeah, coaches are making more, and if I get fired, I can just get another job. I'm down to be a coach.
There's one there was one I was really hoping to find. This one, he came up earlier. I didn't look it up, but there's no money attached to it. But man, I gotta wonder. When did he sign this? Oh, 2022. So he's probably not at 10, but I'm guessing he's 8, and it's Taylor Jenkins.
Yeah, Taylor, he feels like 8.
I'm guessing Taylor Jenkins is in that 8. I think once you get
2022, that's after they made the playoffs and everything.
Yeah,
so, probably 8.
Okay.
We got to go because we have been looking forward to play Rex in Effect in 20 minutes on KSFM. So if you want to, it's been a 4-hour build up to Rump Shaker.